So I wanted to go through a quick setup of Boston.gov, which is a Drupal 7 project. So I'm here at the GitHub repository, which is a public repository. And if I scroll down on the home page here in the README, you'll see there's a quick start guide, basically that uses Docker Compose to set things up. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to clone the repository. So if we actually just do a git clone command, and I have it already saved to my fish memory here, so I'm just going to run the Boston.gov clone. And now I can cd into Boston.gov the project, and I'll list the project files, and you'll see it's a standard Drupal project here. And so now I can basically go back and scroll down on the README and find that Docker Compose command and try to run that. So in my case, it says Docker Compose is not currently installed. So I'm using an Ubuntu computer and it's telling me to apt install this, but I believe that it is actually going to install an older version of Docker Compose. So I want to get the latest binary. So I'm actually going to go to Docker's website itself and look at the install Docker Compose page and come down here and find this curl command that is used to download the latest software. But before I do that, I'm actually going to note here that they're referencing this version right here, and they actually give a quick link to show the different releases on the GitHub page project for Docker Compose. And there's a newer release candidate here, so I'm just going to go ahead and substitute that in real quick. Just make sure I get the newest software right here in the command, and I'm going to run this. And you'll notice that for some reason my curl is not evaluating the values between these backticks. So that's what this is trying to do, is trying to get the values here and splice them into this command. So since it's having trouble with that, I'm actually just going to go and get these values manually. So we'll see that that value is S and this value is X8664. So I'm going to go back to that last command. I'm going to copy these and I'm just going to place them in there instead of trying to get this to evaluate ahead of time. So get rid of this, place that in, get rid of this, and I'm going to copy, paste that in, and run this command again. Okay, so now it's installing Docker Compose. Great, and now I can go back to the original Docker Compose up command. No. Okay, so I still have to do a couple more things here. So the first thing I have to do is I have to make this an executable. So changing Docker Compose, make it executable, and now we should be able to see that this is installed properly. So I can do a Docker Compose version, and do we have it running? Okay, great. We have the version 1.20 release candidate 1 running on our computer. So now if I go back and I try to run Docker Compose up, maybe I just have to run it like this, Docker Compose up. The Docker engine version is less than the minimum required by Compose. So my Docker version is 1.12.6. So I need to upgrade Docker. So we're going to have to get really kind of messy with this. So we have Docker currently installed, but we really need to get a newer version of Docker here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove all the old versions of Docker. We're going to say yes. Okay, and now we have to go through and basically we have to install the Docker Community Edition. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to update our package manager. That looks good. And then we're going to install these repositories. And we're going to get the GPG key. Okay. And we're going to set the fingerprint. Okay, so it looks like we're pretty good there. Let's add the repository down here. Okay, and they want us again to update. And now we can install Docker Community Edition. Let's give that a shot. Okay, so what happened here is our apt-get repository did not get added here. So we need to make sure this gets added. Let's see here. What I believe is happening is this probably is not getting evaluated. So I'm going to run this command to see what the value is again. We're seeing that it's Xenial, and we're going to basically come back in here, run this command again, but this time we're just going to put in the value. Like this. Okay, so that time it completed. Now if we run our update, we should now recognize the repository that was added, which will allow us to come in here and download and install the Docker Community Edition. Okay, and it looks like we can install specific versions here, but let's just see if Docker is again working. Okay, so now we have a much newer version on our system, and we can see that all our containers and things are still there. So this is great. So we can go here now, and we should be able to run our Docker compose up. Okay, now we can open up a new tab here, and if we go back to the project README, you'll notice that there's another Docker exec command that we can run here that will take about 10 minutes. So this will actually build our containers and get our software running inside of those containers. Once that script has finished running, you should have 2 Docker containers currently running. So if you do the docker ps command, you'll see I have a Drupal container here, and I have a MySQL container here. And if I were to switch back to the Boston.gov README, it'll show me the URL I would go to visit my running site. So if I click on this, I'm actually going to notice it's probably not going to look like I expect it to look. So I'm getting a 404 not found error. And the reason why this is happening is there's no content created on the site yet. So the first thing we should really do is go to this user login link here and note that the default user is admin with a password of admin. And if I click this and I go to that link, I can type in my username, my password, click login. And from here, I can actually go to the content tab in my Drupal 7 site, and I'll notice that there's only 2 pages that are already created. There's a 403 forbidden and a 404 not found page. So I want to go ahead here, and I'm just going to quickly create a new home page. So I'm going to create a landing page content. I'll just give it the title home, and I'll come down here and I'll save the moderation status to published. Click save, and now in my site configuration, I can go and I can set the system site information to use the home page, the new homepage URL that I just created, which is just home, and I'll click save. Our configuration has been saved, and now when I click on the home screen, you'll see that there is a page that has a a top navigation and a footer navigation. And there's no content yet created because we haven't really saved any information to this page. But if we want to create a new draft, we could come in here, we could edit our home page and start adding different components, which are just a series of paragraphs, and it would start building out the structure of the site. So that is kind of a rundown of how to get Boston.gov up and running. And hopefully you can use this on your own projects and start iterating on some of this. And our team always welcomes pull requests, so feel free to actually open up issues and pull requests on the project because we actually listen to them. So we'd love to see your contribution. All right, thank you.